And let's go to the man himself. I see him in the background, Michael Maloof. There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing? You doing okay today?
Not so far so good. Taking it very tenderly.
How are you? What is that negative very tenderly? Michael Maloof, he's a former senior security policy analyst in the Office of Secretary of Defense, author, and regular contributing analyst to RT and other media outlets. He has nearly 30 years of federal service in the U.S. Department of Defense. I am super curious on your take. And let me explain why. I've had plenty of people who would come on the show and they would say, we think cooler heads will prevail. We think this will be atrocious in its potential outcome. We'd be whistling past the graveyard. And I would say these people are not rational actors, they're ideologues. And they were indeed ideologues. And they thought that they could sucker punch Iran and apparently get a quick victory based on Donald Trump's crowing about how he knew about everything, how he couldn't even keep plausible deniability, quiet. And within 48 hours, there was this kind of assertion of authority by the Iranian side, where Israel went crying to Donald Trump almost immediately to get involved into the war on the side of Israel. Now, Trump has slightly resisted up until this point. I mean, he's been refueling, giving them weapons and everything else, but he hasn't necessarily went on a bombing run. How long is that going to last from your point of view?
Well, I see a number of things coming together here. I think Trump now is clearly under the control of the deep state, the intelligence community, as well as the neocons at this point. He's basically been absconded by them, and he's a captive now, and he wants to end this thing. He makes it very clear. But I don't think he necessarily wants regime change in Iran. So I'm beginning to see something evolving here that might, in which he will do a one-time thing, and that'll be it. And that would be to go ahead and use the B-2s, bunker busters on Fordo. But if that doesn't happen, the alternative will be that Netanyahu will use tactical nuclear weapons for the first time. He has that capability, and he can reach Fordo from Azerbaijan, and he can do a number of hits down that would with nukes that would have the impact of peeling away all the way down the layers down to 800 meters and take care of take care of Fordo. I think that may be the what's being presented to Trump at this point as the alternative, because both are determined in their own way, both Trump and Netanyahu, to bring a resolution. And Trump wants to end the resolution and have peace in the valley. Netanyahu wants to eliminate what he claims is a threat to the state of Israel. And it clearly Netanyahu is in control. He's basically controlling Trump.
Peace in the valley.
That was a euphemism.
Go ahead.
It was he wants to be the peace president. Come on. He wants a peace prize.
That ship has sailed. That ship has long sailed. We are well beyond peace president Trump. Are you certain?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. The consideration for not wanting to eliminate the regime is on two levels. Number one, what would be substituted for it? I mean, I've seen the opposition, and they are just as much in disarray as anybody else. And we have the experience of Libya. But number two, he's also got to deal with Russia, China, that regards Iran as highly strategic to their own purposes.
Yes.
And he wants to get along with both of them. So Trump is really following a very thin line here, plus try to placate Netanyahu and the lobbies that back him and his supporters who campaign supporters. I mean, it's not a time to be Donald Trump at this point because of the decisions that are going to be forthcoming. And you see U.S. forces rushing to the area now. That it suggests to me that something is building up.
It's happening, right? I think we have a fundamental disagreement on something. I don't believe Israel is a I don't think Israel is a rogue actor. That very air that Israel breathes comes out of the United States ass. Like,
of course,
it would be impossible for them to do any of this stuff without the U.S. green lighting, or at the very least interest in doing so.
Netanyahu already knows he has more support in Congress than Trump does. He has the support, plus he has tremendous backing of the defense community in the United States. So he's got everybody locked up. He's got the influence in the United States locked in. He has more influence than Trump, and I think Trump, for the first time, is realizing that he's not in control of everything. But he's not going to admit it, but he's going to go about and act. So that's why he still talks to Netanyahu. That's why I think ultimately he may bend to Netanyahu's desire to use the bunker busters. But I don't think even the bunker busters will be sufficient. The conventional bunker busters will be sufficient because they only go down about 500 meters at best, and you need to go to 800 meters.
I know, but this is not about nukes. This was never about nukes.
It could become nukes if the bunker busters are not used.
I guess what I'm saying is this was always about regime change. And I have to be very honest with you. I've been right all the way through this.
That's what Netanyahu wants, but Trump does not necessarily want Netanyahu. Trump does not necessarily want regime change. He's got to placate Putin. And you'll notice that Putin has accelerated things in Ukraine during this period of time with the attention. I think there's an understanding between Trump and Putin.
I don't know if there's an understanding or if there's just an over responsibility that the United States can't cover both at the same time. And that
they've tried.
They did try.
They tried. Yeah,
but they can't.
Trump brags about being a multitasker, you know? I mean, he's
good luck. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yes, I agree with you. They've accelerated events in Ukraine. Ukraine has been getting smashed over the last several days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, over the last week, but definitely over the last several days.
But I'm wondering, I don't know for sure, I don't know for a fact, but it seems to me that there seems to have been a quiet nod toward Putin. Okay, you deal with Ukraine, I'll have to deal with Iran and Netanyahu, but I'm not going to seek regime change. Otherwise, you don't hear anything that we have that could go in and take over day one from the Western point of view as a substitute for the mullahs and the clerics there. Besides that, the Iranian people themselves voted in the Islamic clerics as leadership. It's embedded in their way of life today. It's the government that we may have a problem with, as opposed to the supreme leader. And there's a distinction that's made even over there in Iran. They may not like the government, but they certainly support their supreme leader from an Islamic religious standpoint.
If I may say, I think you are over-evaluating U.S. military capability and undervaluating Iranian capability. And what I mean by that, I think the U.S. is going to run into a buzzsaw. I think those B-2 bombers are going to have to get so close that air defense can knock those things out the sky. I think hypersonic missiles can knock those meaning U.S. aircraft carriers are like a 1980s super weapon. We are in 2025. Like drones, like the fact that Yemen and Ansar Allah was able to disallow the U.S. to militarily gain air superiority. I don't know how they expect to do that with a country that is radically more sophisticated in a territory that is 3 times the size of Iraq. I just don't see how that's going to take place. I don't even believe that they've even played all of their armaments at their disposal believing that the real war is going to take place with the U.S., meaning
Well,
I would wager that they assume that that fight is going to be with America, not Israel. Give me
well,
a take on that.
I think that Iran does have some capabilities. I don't think they have a ground-to-air capability that could reach the B-2s at the altitude. Um, and besides that, they would go in under escort anyway. So also if they were to go in, I think the right now the U.S. would not go in unless they could be assured of air superiority themselves, and right now it looks like the Israelis have a clear shot over Tehran. They're able to go into Tehran at will and bomb even civilian sites. That seems to be what's happening, and air defenses are not reacting all that much. There have been some, but they have not been so effective as to prevent Israeli air superiority. That's a problem. So, but Fordo it may have fortifications that we don't know about, but I can't imagine that we don't know what they are. Besides that, we have a technology that is capable of telling us when a missile is about ready to launch, and and that could be knocked out. We knew, for example, right after Soleimani was killed, we knew when the missiles would be launched and where they were being launched that were coming into the U.S. bases in Iraq. But we chose not to because we didn't want to have a one-on-one, have an escalation. We knew it would be a one-on-one. That would be it. But we knew we had the technology and know-how to know precisely where they were being launched. Those can be knocked out. That's my point.
I see.
Because those B-2s would go in under escort.
I see.
And you would have, and they have EMP. They've got the ACN systems on those aircraft that neutralizes the air defense systems, communications. I mean, it would not just be two bombers flying over. I mean, there's an elaboration that goes on. So that is if the president decides to make that decision. I think he's been reluctant to do that because he feels it would get us more involved. But I think he is prepared, given Netanyahu's persistence and the fact that he's got advisors around him saying the same thing, that he may go ahead and do a one-time thing. Otherwise, we had to just get those damn bases out of the region. What's the point? What's the point of having them?
But that's the other part. If the U.S. does that, those bases are immediately targets.
But with what at this point?
What do you mean? Iran has a slew of missiles. They haven't necessarily diminished their stockpiles.
I know that, but we got 35 bases out there. We got 40,000 personnel, and they are in areas that Iran has friendly relations with countries right now. And those countries have already,
Let's put that in quotes. Saudi Arabia has been allowing their airspace to be used.
I know they still have a little friction, but Saudi Arabia and Iran have reestablished diplomatic relations. And they're not fully participating. They're defending, but they're not actively engaging.
The enemy.
They're defending against missiles that come across their territory. They're shooting them down. But at the same time, they're not responding back at this point. Those countries have said that they will not have told the United States they will not allow those bases to be used to retaliate against Iran. So if Trump wants to maintain his relationships with the Sunni Arabs, he's going to have to comply with their wishes. I think that's why he's in a very precarious decision-making position.
Tell me something else. What would be the political consequences of Israel dropping a nuke? Aside from the military, let's say, issues associated with it, I can't imagine there won't be political consequences.
Monumental. It would change the course of the world. Look, you've got You've got the United States, you got the CIA, UK MI6, and Mossad all joined at the hip. When you look at the approach that was taken by the Israelis in Iran, it was a carbon copy of what they did in Ukraine. Russia, Putin right now has a real bad taste in his mouth for Netanyahu. And I think he knows what Netanyahu did. And I think he sees the fingerprints of Mossad all over the Ukraine operation. These two are not unrelated. And I think that this has to be taken into the whole strategic equation here on what direction do you go? And do you go for full cutting off of the head of this so-called snake at this point, namely Iran? Or do you leave it intact, but take out just its nuclear weapons capability, if in fact they have one? They have a nuclear development program, and Russia has been very upfront about that. Bushehr was actually hit, and Bushehr was just for generating electricity.
Right.
But and Russia has told Trump, we want to build more reactors for their medical reasons and all that. But he has said, look, I want it all totally eliminated at this point. As a signatory to the NPT, he couldn't do that. But if Iran drops out of the NPT, then they have no basis to make claim that they have a right to do the nuclear development program without countries imposing further sanctions on Iran, from Europe. So this is a mess.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be as clean.
No, it's not clean at all. There's a lot of considerations that go into all these in decision making here. It isn't just a black and white situation at all.
Yeah.
That's why this is so hard to say this is the way it's going to be. But we're reaching a crescendo. We're reaching a certain point where major decisions are going to be made here shortly. And Netanyahu wants regime change, but he has nothing to put in its place. I haven't seen anything offered. I mean, I remember what happened in Iraq. It was a disaster. That's why that brought on the rise of ISIS and more extreme elements within Iraq. We went in as liberators, but we soon became occupiers. I mean, what's going to take Fordo? Ultimately, what could take Fordo? There's got to be boots on the ground. Who's going to put boots on the ground?
I don't think.
But to do that, you got to eliminate the regime.
I don't believe Israel has the power to do that.
No, they want the United States to do it. They want the U.S. to do it.
They want America to do it.
I don't think we'll do. I hope we don't do that. But we're capable of any stupidity.
And that will require a buildup of military personnel. I mean, it took months to build up military force for Iraq.
Well, we got 40,000 in the region.
Who will be fair game?
Oh, yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That it doesn't. Iran. It's not going to matter to Iran that those troops are in Saudi Arabia, UAE, or Qatar, any of those countries, when they're existential, when the risk to the nation is at stake.
I understand that, and that makes them very vulnerable if the Iranians still have that capability. Mm-hmm. We don't know, given all the crap that's occurred, and the focus that Iran has had with shooting missiles into Israel. What do they have left? We don't know. We don't know what their inventory is. And how do can they do a sustained thing? Right now, we're getting many false calls of things are coming, but nothing happens in Israel. Does that mean that they're running low? Huh?
Do we really want to test that? I mean, that's a hell of a test.
It's being tested. It's being tested now. Just this morning, last night, there were like 5 calls of incoming, but nothing came. Right. Why?
Psychological warfare, I assume.
Or they may not have it, or they may be saving certain hypersonics for strategic positions. Now, admittedly, we're getting news blackout from the West and intel blackouts from the West on what the extent of the damage really is in Israel right now.
Israel, yeah.
I think it's much greater than what the Israelis are reporting.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Because I think you're hitting some. They're hitting some real strategic, critical infrastructure now. The ports in Haifa. I think they've put Haifa basically out of business. The Israeli Pentagon has been hit at least 3 times. And I know a number of Israeli bases have been hit, but that has gone virtually unreported.
If you had to predict, where do you think this goes? I'm just curious. Because I got to be honest, I, from my point of view, I knew the wolves were at the gate. I assume Israel was going to attack. So if you had to predict, where do you think this goes? I mean, do you think Trump is stupid enough to attack? Do you think Netanyahu is crazy enough to drop a nuke? Would Pakistan drop a nuke on Israel if indeed they drop a nuke on? Like, meaning this stuff gets very unpredictable.
Well, this could cause a very regional expansion, because the Pakistanis have already threatened just that if Netanyahu resorts. But I think he won't. I don't think Netanyahu will resort to a tactical nukes on Fordo unless Trump turns him down totally on the B2s. Then I think it's going to be in play. And I think that Netanyahu feels that he could probably deal with the Pakistanis as well. I mean, he's dealt with everybody else in the region.
Pakistan, well, hasn't really dealt with Iran. I mean, he's been getting torched.
It's been pretty effective. He just knocked off the new chief of staff of the IRGC, who's only been in office for a few days.
Yeah, I
think he would go against Trump in terms of killing Khamenei. I think that's a possibility as well. I think Netanyahu will defy Trump and do just that.
I'm not certain that Trump is against it. I'm not certain
Trump can't stop him.
Yeah,
Trump can't stop him.
And killing an individual is different than militarily winning a contest. Like, meaning,
but you're hitting the head. You're hitting the supreme leader. That's big. That's like what the reaction was when Soleimani was killed.
No, what I mean is the other general or whoever, that other military guy. And by the way, why do these guys keep getting killed? They don't have a bunker somewhere? It's super weird to me that I understood the first attack where they were ill prepared. But now, why is he not in a bunker?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. They stay in their apartments.
What the hell?
They're getting local support. I mean, the MEK is very active. And they have people on the ground. Mossad has people on the ground who are helping guide them. This isn't just them being outsiders. They've paid people very, very well. People who are opposed to the clerics and within Iran. So they're getting a lot of assistance and pinpointing where these people are staying or even living. I think is something that has astonished us, and they're being killed by drones that are shot locally.
Yeah,
these are not long range.
Yeah, it's very bizarre to me that they're not sitting in a bunker somewhere. I didn't understand why they weren't in a bunker on the first night of the attack, frankly. But now it's very weird.
Well, they were called together to a meeting, and how they hacked is beyond me. The other thing too is that the reports I've read is that the Iranians have been quite successful now in reversing certain things and getting ground-to-air systems in Israel to actually come back on their own launchers. That takes an incredible amount of know-how and technical know-how, and that there was a THAAD system that just blew up the other morning, and I saw the video on it. The missile goes off and actually came on back and hit the launcher. Who would have thought that there was that capability there? But it's there. So, But again, the Western press is not reporting these things. And so there's probably more damage occurring, which then lends the question of what do the Iranians still have in their quiver?
Mm-hmm.
What arrows do they still have? And that's unknown to me. I do know they have hypersonics. They may not have used them all yet. By the way, the Hezbollah has not used all of its missiles either. So there's a possibility that something
They can also be involved.
Could happen from Lebanon.
Michael, I appreciate this. This is chaos.
Well, it's chaos, yeah. And I'm not pretending to have answers. I'm just laying out these various scenarios and prospects that are occurring, given how rapid things are happening, and everything that is occurring, and the decisions now that we're reaching the points of crescendos that we're reaching, that where big decisions are going to be made, that need to also take into account geopolitical considerations.
Basically, what does Russia do? What
Russia
does China do? Yeah.
Because of the geostrategic importance of Iran itself.
Yeah, if Iran gets wobbly
For them.
because their calculation change. Yeah.
Oh, it's quite something.
Oh, wow. Michael, thank you for this. I really do appreciate it.
We're in unprecedented times.
That is an understatement. That is an understatement. I mean, it's funny. Everybody was looking at Russia and Ukraine thinking, oh my God, this can go out of, spiral into oblivion, not paying attention to the wackos with nukes in Israel that is willing to use those nukes meaning they're throwing themselves into danger. And it's like, save me, or else I'm going to use nukes. It's just outrageous.
Well, Netanyahu is threatened. If it meant the survival of Israel, I think he's prepared to do it. And he now regards the nuclear program of Iran to be a threat to the existence of Israel. So we're at that level.
Steve, that's why I so disagree with you. It's not about the nukes. It's just about the existence of Israel, of Iran in and of itself.
But I don't think you heard me. I said he has threatened to use nukes if it has to do with the existence of Israel.
Oh, I see.
If the existence of Israel is threatened, then he would use nukes. I think Netanyahu is suggesting that they're at that point, that Israel's existence will be threatened if Iran's nuclear program continues, and if Fordo is not destroyed. I think it's come to that in Netanyahu's mind. That's what I'm hearing.
It's about the existence of Iran in and of itself.
Iran will exist, whether the government and the supreme leader and the mullah, the cleric regime will exist, remains open. And Trump is not there yet. Netanyahu already wants to eliminate them, but he doesn't have anything to offer as a substitute.
If they pop off a nuke, this becomes radically unpredictable in regards to how the world responds.
Well, it's almost out of hand now. Yeah.
And Israel could be nuked themselves if they do that. Like, they've thrown themselves into the situation, and now they're like,
what would be the reaction should Netanyahu employ his tactical nukes?
Yeah, that is wow. Michael Maloof, thank you for this. I know, right? Former senior security policy analyst and Office of Secretary of Defense, author, regular contributing analyst on RT and other media outlets. He has nearly 30 years of federal service experience in the U.S. Department of Defense. Michael, you have a fantastic day, man. Thank you for this.
You too. Thank you.